I am going to talk a little bit today about something that near and dear to my heart, and I get I get a lot of questions about it, and it's kind of the cause of a problem that everybody thinks something else is going on. So I know that sounds confusing. Here's the best part. I've got some really great visual aids to really show why modern lumber today sucks. All right, so I'd say we get into it. First of all, remember if you like what you are hearing or seeing, hit the like button. Feel free to start a chat. I'll do my best to answer the questions. And comments, of course, help too. All right, that helps the algorithm. The more people comment on videos, because they interpret that to think that people are really interested. So comment a lot. All right, why modern lumber sucks. Here's a little bit of history first. Understand that if you go way back in time, uh, I don't know, let's go back to the late 1800s. When they would build homes, here's what did not exist. There was no such thing as plywood. OSB did not exist. There were no engineered lumbers. So all of the lumber that was used in home construction was solid dimensional lumber. So that would mean 2x material for the floor joists and wall studs, roof rafters, and wall sheathing, floor subflooring. That was all like 1x6 ton group material. And of course, they had really nice hardwoods to do finished flooring. Well, so back when the country was young, all right, when the United States was young, we still had a lot of old growth timber around, all right? And some of this old growth timber, we're talking about trees that might be 2, 3, 400 years old, all right? And so if you cut down a tree that's 200 years old, in the, you know, when General Lee was offering his surrender to General Grant, and you wanted to grow a new one, that's it's going to be, we're going to have to wait another 40 years before that to mature. All right, I mean 200 years is a long time. So what happened is that as America started to grow, and as the demand for lumber started to increase, all right, think about it, they can't grow trees fast enough to satisfy the demand. And anybody who was, who ran numbers at a lumber mill or who owned a lumber company, a timber company, they could do the math. They knew how many trees they had in their forest. They knew how many they were cutting down a year. They knew how long it would take to grow. This is really a simple problem to solve. So what happened is, along the way, in the 1900s, probably 1940s, 1930s, you can look it up. When was plywood? When was plywood invented? So plywood was the first step. All right. So plywood was the first step to hybridized lumber, because plywood took out of plywood replaced were the 1x6s. So plywood was started to be used as sheathing on the outside of houses and for the subfloor. All right. So that solved one problem. But we continued to grow as a nation, and we continued to have a voracious appetite for timber. So not only could we use our timber, but we could import it, like from Canada. Canada's got a lot. All right. So the bottom line is, the timber companies, just like they do with the food we eat, which is not necessarily all good, they started to hybridize trees. And the scientists, not Japanese scientists, all right, these were American scientists, they decided that they had to figure out a way to make trees grow faster. I know. So here's what happened. Here's the result. So here is a piece of hybridized lumber that is going to blow you away. So this is a 4x6. All right. So look at this. So this is where the tree was it came up as a seedling. This is year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6. So, and as you go out here, it's 8. So this giant piece of lumber, in 8 years, it had grown from here to here. All right. So look at how big these light colored rings are. And I'm going to explain that in a minute. All right. So let's just talk about that now. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I'll do my best to answer. Hey, Nick, how you doing? The answer, you've got a great question. Do you think we'll ever develop a replacement engineered material for natural wood that has similar properties and more importantly is equal in cost? Um, well, I don't think so. That's kind of a loaded question. We can talk about that later. All right, let's talk about this now. So when a tree grows in in the United States or really anywhere in the world, here's what happens. So in this is typically think about this. When you count how old a tree is, what are you always doing? You're always counting one or the other rings. You're not counting the light one and the dark one, the light one and the dark one. You count like the dark ones, like you'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So that means that the light wood is grown in the same year as the dark wood. This light wood is what we call springwood, and that's exactly when it grows. So when when this deciduous tree, when the sap starts to come up, Mother Nature knows what to do. The sun's getting higher in the sky, spring's here. It starts to grow and put on this lighter colored wood. The thing is, this lighter colored wood is not as strong, and it absorbs water very rapidly. Then when we get into summer, when rains start to fall off, the tree's smart. The tree knows that, wow, it's going to be winter soon. So it starts to slow down and it puts on this dark band of wood. And it's called summerwood. All right. This is what makes wood so hard to sand. All right. So this is what makes a tree strong. You have alternating bands of springwood, summerwood, springwood, summerwood, springwood, summerwood. All right, so now let's look at an old growth piece of timber. This is a 2x4 stud that was sent. I asked one of my newsletter. I asked my newsletter list one day, if you have any old lumber, I would love to have it. I'll pay for postage. And I had a bunch of people send me things. Look at this. All right, look at this one. So this, you can't even tell where the center of the tree was, but it was right about here where my finger is. All right, because you can see this semicircular curve here. And so the center of the tree was about here. So I would estimate that from here to here was about 9 years. Before I went live, I counted these. It's really hard for you to see them, but from here to here is 29 years. And then the rings get really tight. From here to the end of the tree is probably another 20 rings, 20 years. It's crazy. This is just a 2x4, not a 4x6. So when the springwood and the summerwood are about the same width, it makes the wood more stable, it makes it stronger, and it makes it so it's less likely to twist and warp and everything else. The other thing is termites, carpenter ants, they do not like to eat the summer wood. They just go after the spring wood. So typically old growth timber was more insect resistant. All right. So that's why modern lumber sucks. All right. It's because it's got way too much spring wood, way too much. And that's why, and plus add to this, the fact that wood is hygroscopic. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that wood changes its shape with relationship to the amount of moisture it has in it. Well, guess what? All of this spring wood, all right, all of this light colored wood can absorb water like a sponge. So that means wood that has a lot of spring wood, it can just go expand, contract, and that's what causes a lot of the cracks in these newer homes, or if you're putting up a room addition, because that lumber, it's not stable enough yet. So modern lumber just sucks. All right, hi Pippo, how you doing? Thanks for the compliment. How about morning wood? Let's try to keep it decent here. Come on. Hello, Vanessa. Anyway, so Nick, I don't, the trouble with engineered lumber is it's always going to be engineered lumber. First of all, it's good Here's what I don't like about engineered lumber. Engineered lumber, it's totally dependent upon the glue that's used. All right. So if there's a problem with the glue, there could be all kinds of problems because the people who make the glue are not necessarily the lumber companies. If the glue is a bad batch, you're going to have a bad batch of engineered lumber. Whereas traditional timbers, um, different species of wood have their own built-in strength factor. For example, Douglas fir is considered probably the strongest of all here in America. Southern yellow pine is probably number two. Southern yellow pine, even though it's been hybridized, it's a very strong, it's a very strong piece of lumber. And realize too that there are different grades. All right, so there's different grades of lumber. Lumber that has fewer knots in it is stronger. All right, so knots by default make lumber weak. So anyway, let's see here. New to the shape, but this seems very super. Well, thanks very much, Lucy. Lumber is interesting. It's a big industry. Brian, let's see. Pressure treated lumber doesn't last long. So here's the thing about pressure treated lumber. I'll probably do a separate live on that. I've got all kinds of columns on my Ask the Builder website about pressure treated lumber rotting. It's a big problem. And what a lot of people don't realize is that it's first of all, when it's made, it's not all the same. I think I have a column on my website. If you look up pressure treated ratings in my search engine, you'll come up with this column. And I think there are 11 different grades of pressure treated lumber. So you can go to Home Depot and typically buy one that's not meant for ground contact. For example, that's the kind of treated lumber we would use for a bottom plate on a wall, like on a foundation, where we don't expect it to really get wet. And then they have material that's meant to be outside. Then they have stuff that's meant to be buried. Then they have stuff that's meant to be piers for commercial work that has a lot of preservative in it. So the reason you're seeing pressure treated lumber failures is because they might be using the wrong material in a particular application. So that's, if I was called in as an expert witness on a case, that's the first thing I would try to determine. I would take a piece of the lumber, send it to a testing lab, and find out, okay, how much preservative did it really get? So that's what's going on with that Colonel Sanders. And the next person's going to say, are you the Ralphie guy in the movie Christmas Story? No, I'm not. But he's my brother. No, he's not. Nick says in California they use some. Now it's right, exactly. So don't get me started on let's not go down that road about politics and all that and government regulations. All right. If you have any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But just understand the biggest reason modern lumber sucks is because they've hybridized it and it grows too fast. All right. Keep in mind, if you're a tree hugger, and I like the environment too. I love the environment, but understand that trees are just a crop. Trees are they're no different at all than corn or soybeans or tomatoes, whatever. It's just that it takes them a while longer to grow. All right. So, you might harvest a tree now every 15 to 20 years. They might be doing it, if they're just going to ship it up and turn it into OSB. All right. And the other thing about the lumber companies, they typically plant multiple trees for every single one they cut down. So if you hear these activists get all excited about trees being cut down, it's the same old thing. They don't have all the facts. The lumber companies aren't stupid. They know they need to grow more trees, so they're planting more than they're cutting down. Simple as that. All right, don't have a chicken coop. Don't have one, but some people down the street have one. But I'm not growing chickens. A lot of work. We do have a lot of coyotes around here too, so they would be. You'd have to really watch them, keep them locked up from the coyotes. Okay, I'm going to be doing a lot more live broadcasts. Got a lot of topics. If there's something you want me to talk about, just go to my website, go to the Ask Tim page, and just tell me. Say, hey, could you cover this or cover that? Love to do it. Purdue Chicken Man. I don't know. Nick, Tim, off topic, but what happened to that house? Um, that house that I was vlogging about, eventually it got closed in. They put locks on the doors, and I was unable to have access. It's been occupied now for about 18 months. Um, I guess the people in it are happy as clams. They're probably unaware of all the mistakes. Um, the builder must not go onto YouTube. He's never approached me. So it's just down the street from me. It's only about 3/4 of a mile away from where I live. So it was really a shame, really a shame. It was a really great example of a builder who was not providing enough, oversight. I don't know how often he stopped by, and he also had a bunch of subs that didn't care, and that's a recipe for disaster. All right, so simple as that. All right, you're welcome. All right, so thanks for tuning in. I'm trying to keep these things about 15 minutes. I don't want to bore you. I just want to kind of get into a topic and get back out. Once again, if you have something you want me to talk about or explore, just go to my website, because there's no easy way to do it here unless you comment on this video after the fact. I do read all comments. I moderate them all. Go to my website, askthebuilder.com. Go to the Ask Tim page. There's a simple form there. Just fill it out and tell me what you want me to cover. I'll do my best. William, yeah, sounds like there's a lot of them out there. There's many more bad builders out there, unfortunately, than good ones. We do have a couple of good ones here in New Hampshire. This older guy is about my age. He built my son's house 3 years ago. Best builder I've ever seen in New Hampshire. I'm telling you, there wasn't a flaw in that house. It was remarkable. But what was the difference? I found out that the builder was there every day. He was on the job site, and he stuck around for about 6 hours a day. So he babysat the subs, and he was just watching them like a hawk, so they wouldn't make a mistake. Or if they did make a mistake, he made them fix it right there. Have you built any radios? Okay, Jason, I am a ham radio operator. I'm an amateur extra, so I've got the highest level of privileges. I'm not a builder. I've tried to build a couple of small kits. I'm just not interested in it that much. And I'm finding as I'm getting older, my eyes are not as good as they should be or could be. So sometimes it's a little hard to really get to accurately solder those. You have to know what you're doing when you solder those circuit boards. All right, so it's just not my bailiwick. I don't like building them. My real passion is outdoor radio. So I love to do. I'm like back in World War II, the resistance. They dropped a bunch of what they call parachute radios. They parachuted them. That's why they were called parachutes. These 40-meter radios, they dropped into enemy lines, and so the French resistance, an Italian or whoever, would operate those radios, and their life expectancy was only 6 weeks. All right, because the Germans, they had direction finders, they could figure out where you were, so you had to get on the air, transmit, and then you had to get off the air and get the heck out of there. So when I go out and do radio, if you go to my blog, I have a really neat radio blog. I can't type, I'm sorry. So simple, so the website is my call sign, W3ATB. So go to W3ATB. There are hundreds of stories there of outdoor adventures that I've done. And the coolest thing is I can be on the air just like those old spies in just a matter of minutes, because all I have to do is put a 29-foot wire up into a tree, I throw a water bottle up in the air that's got a string on it, and then the water bottle goes over a branch, and then I just pull it up. In fact, if you want to see how it's done, I did a really pretty cool video. It's right here on YouTube. Go to the YouTube search engine when we're done here, type antenna in tree, and then type my name, Antenna in Tree Tim Carter, and you'll see this video I made that shows you how to do it. So you just need a 29-foot wire. You attach a 9-to-1 unun underneath it to get down the impedance down to like 75 ohms, and then you connect it to your radio and you're on the air. So simple as that. So maybe I should do a live broadcast about radio. I don't know. Maybe. I don't think that would interest many people. Maybe it would. We might do it. All right. So anyway, if you're not, I don't know if you're an operator or not, Jason. If not, it's a really fun hobby. It's a really great hobby. Okay, I'm going to sign off here. Thanks very much for watching. So now you know why modern lumber sucks. And once again, like the video, comment, whatever. That really helps get more viewers, and it's going to help us grow this live broadcasting. All right, thanks very much. I'm Tim Carter. Ask the Builder.